Hi everyone, and welcome to another edition of Mrs. Cford Vlogs. I'm Stephanie Crawford, and I am happy to have you here with me today. For this episode, I want to just go back a little bit to basics and talk about putting some of those game elements in a game. Maybe it's one that you already play, a review game that you have that you just want to add something a little more to, that you think could be a little more fun, a little more engaging, a little more creative. It's already doing the trick of getting them to interact with the content, but you just want something more. Maybe you don't have a clue where to start when you're thinking of your own game completely from scratch, and this will help trigger some of those ideas for you. Maybe you have a game already that you're pretty happy with, but you would like to think about how to apply maybe a different element to give it a variation. Today I had a learning appointment with a teacher who is not afraid to take risks. She teaches high school math. She is very ready to jump in, try something new. She's used Play-Doh in her classroom this year. And she's very good at being reflective and seeing what works and maybe what needs changed up a bit. Today she had a learning appointment because she wanted to talk about this math review worksheet that she knew she wanted more than a worksheet. She really wanted to have a game involved in it. The kids were asking for games because she's played games and done that with them, and they know that it can be really fun. And she wanted to be able to do that for them because she knew too that it makes them more engaged in the material and in class. And everyone loves that. Everyone benefits from that. When you think about adapting a game, any game that you have, you always ask yourself if there are some basic elements that can be put into it. If you don't already have time limits, are there time limits that can be put in? If there's not dice involved, is there a way dice can be involved? Is there something that naturally lends itself to that? And another thing you ask yourself, is there a way to involve some kind of cursing between teams, some kind of physical movement? Now, she already had physical movement in the fact that they're kind of moving up to do the attacks and changing the castles. But we look beyond that. Is there another way? For this game, what we thought were some ideas that might be beneficial to add in could be an element where teams are able to curse each other. So essentially in that action phase of the game where they can attack or rebuild, could you add in a cursing option? So if you wanted to, you could curse another team and maybe the people have to write with their other hand. Maybe they have to stand on one leg. Maybe they have to hold their hand on their head the entire time, or until the curse is broken. Maybe the curse is broken if the person who gave the curse gets a question wrong. Maybe the curse lasts for a certain amount of time. Maybe it's for a minute. Maybe it's for 2 minutes. Maybe it's the duration of one round where all the teams go around. But adding that curse element allows them to feel like there's another way to kind of get at those teams. Maybe you add a 2-step action phase. Maybe they get to choose 2 actions. Maybe they could choose to attack and a curse. Maybe those items, cursing and a 2-step attack, maybe, or a 2-step action, are only available if you answer a bonus question on your round. Or maybe they're only available if you answer a math problem in 2 ways, like show 2 ways to solve this, because then it is bringing up the idea of we're talking about the solution. One of the things that she said is in high school, by the time they get to that level, a lot of times with the group element, they're not really talking as much about the process and how we got there. They're solving it on their own. And then they're just like, I got this, I got this, I got this. Well, maybe they all got the wrong answer. Maybe they all put a negative instead of a positive sign, but they're not talking about that process. So offering something like a question that has a bonus, if you show 2 possible solutions, the team has to interact to decide that they have those 2 ways, and then they would be able to do their 2-step action by attacking and cursing, or maybe they get to attack twice, or maybe if they have all their walls knocked down, they could build 2 walls back up. It would be another element to put in there just to kind of encourage to go that extra step. Another thing you could do is turn it into a 2-day process. So this could be used with any kind of review game also. You may want a smaller 1-day review. But if you normally take a longer time, you want to make sure they get those concepts down. And in a class like math, what she said was, we just want to make sure that they have gone through that process enough, that they've asked those questions that they have as they're solving, so that they really feel confident. You have to love that. So you can make it a 2-day process. The first day could be in class answering these questions that as they answer them, if they solve them correctly, it helps build up their stockpile of walls and fortifications. So maybe by having a range of certain right answers, they get a moat. Maybe they get a wall in front of their moat. Maybe they get an alligator in their moat. You know, those type of things. That would all be something that they could draw with their castle. And then it is, so they're still interacting with it, they're still forming it. And then it just makes their castle stronger. So that when on the second day you do the playing phase where they start attacking each other, then it's going to take more to knock down those walls. You could also, if you assign something like a study guide and you want to encourage them to get it done, it could be, okay, the teams as they bring them in, the highest percentage gets to add a moat to theirs. The second highest gets a stone gate, you know, something like that, so that there are levels of extra fortification added to encourage them to do that study guide if the study guide is going to be helpful to them truly for that review of that concept and to strengthen their understanding. So now we've talked a little bit about how you can take an existing game and make some changes to it that don't cost any money. They don't have a huge time investment for you. They're just ways to get the students involved in new and different ways with each other and with the content. So my challenge to you is to think about a game. Maybe it's one that you already do or one that you've been contemplating starting. Maybe it was a favorite of yours when you were in school, if you had a teacher that loved to play a certain game. How could you add a different element to it to make students more engaged with the content and with each other? So I hope that you walk away from today's episode feeling like you've learned something new or looked at something in a new way, and that you're ready to take the challenge and transform something. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Mrs. Cford Vlogs, and I hope to see you next time.